Today we're going to be looking at the disappearance as well as the possible return of a fan favorite Kingdom Hearts character. One whose mysterious presence has been constantly evading us time and time again. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be talking about the mailbox. No, seriously, I know you've been around the block once or twice. You confirmed to be alive? What's your story? By the way, I speak for the council when I say we do not claim this mailbox as our mailbox. Another product of taking away cool and quirky designs for the convenience of sleek modern vibe. All jokes aside though, let's take a look at Strelitzia, the girl who's had significantly less screen time than many fan favorites we've come to adore. However, having just as much, if not more, of a tragic story. If you thought Aqua didn't deserve to go through what she did, then oh boy. Many a tear has been shed. Let's be honest, if any of these characters deserve to come back, and they did come back, then Strelitzia more than deserves to come back as well. I know that's a super spicy take for many of you, but I'm sticking with it. So to start the discussion out, we gotta lay a few ground rules first. Who is Strelitzia? Why is she important? Where exactly did she go? All of these being very important to the overall conflict of finding out exactly how and if she will come back. Strelitzia is a character introduced in Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, which, I don't want to hear no groaning. I'm looking at you in the back. That's right, Kayla. I'm on to you. She was introduced in Kingdom Hearts Union Cross when Ava was tasked with gathering a group of potential Keyblade wielders to survive the war that come to be known as the Dandelions. Within these Dandelions, there would be a select group of people who would be the new leaders of the Dandelions, essentially replacing the Foretellers. Kinda. Those who were chosen were each given a book that would acknowledge them as one of the Keyblade wielders selected. Strelitzia was one of those chosen individuals. Now, of course, it is a very honorable role, being chosen to be one of the 5 leaders of the new Dandelions. It would make sense as to why she's completely excited about it. While adventuring, it is shown that for whatever reason she became interested in a degenerate such as yourself. However, she is extremely shy and thus never builds up the courage to interact with you, but rather watches from afar. However, the problem being that she didn't know if you were a Dandelion that Ava chose to live the war, in turn not knowing if you'll even survive. In order to ensure the safety of someone she cares about, she sets out on a quest to find you and reveal the truth about her being a chosen leader of the Dandelions, hopefully saving you from the war, and hopefully finally becoming your friend. One day, or night, very terrible timing by the way, she finally musters up the strength and courage to talk to you and sets out to find you. Just look at how eager she is. Unfortunately, she is led to an abandoned building where she told that someone was seen entering, thus she assumed it was you. For the sake of plot, she doesn't have any self-awareness, because she's just so eager to finally talk and make friends with you. Oh, bless her heart. Out of seemingly nowhere, she is struck down by a shadowy figure, who then steals her book that was proof of being a leader of the Dandelions and then vanish. In her final moments, we see her reminisce of all the times she saw you, and with her last breath stating that her only regret in this world was never having the courage. Emotional damage! And that's the story of Strelitzia. Later on, it is revealed that the figure cloaked in darkness was actually Ventus, and the 5th and last member of the new Dandelions was Laurium, aka Marluxia, aka Strelitzia's brother. Once the truth came out about what happened to his sister, for obvious reasons, he didn't take it too well, vowing that no matter the cost, he will one day set things right. A quick side note, a really cool detail being that her clip representing the number 11 in Roman numerals, an obvious reference to organization member number 11, Marluxia. Now, this could be just a coincidence considering that it could not be the same thing, simply depending on the angle you look at it, but if I know Nomura, this was 100% intentional. Anywho, now that we've answered the question of who Strelitzia is and her importance, as well as where she went, we can start exploring how she will come back. Make no mistake, she did perish here. However, Strelitzia has long since already returned to us, albeit not in her entirety, but considering we've actually heard her voice, that's a dub up from Union Cross. Wait, we've heard her voice? Well, of course, you beautiful person, you. Isn't it obvious? The completely optional and easily missable star in Kingdom Hearts 3. Okay, maybe not so obvious, so let me piece it together for you. As I said, in Kingdom Hearts 3, when Sora is on the brink of losing his title as the MC, he is brought to the world of Ocean and Sky, aka the Final World. In simple terms, it's a place where those whose bodies and hearts have perished, but instead of moving on, someone or something is holding them together, resulting in their hearts being lost here. Except for Sora. He maintains his form because he's been a walking exception since he got the Keyblade. I digress. During this part in the game, you can walk around and talk to various stars, gaining some minor details as to their lives and how they ended up here. Most of these are just voiceless dialogues, with the exception of two, one being obviously Namine,
It's me, Namine.
and the other being Strelitzia.
Good day.
Now, at the time that Kingdom Hearts 3 was released, many of us speculated as to who this star could be. Considering they were given whole dialogue as opposed to others, they would have to be someone of importance. So, some come to the conclusion that it was Scald, while others Ava, and with a select few, myself included, being Strelitzia. However, as time went on and Union Cross unveiled more and more information, I can now say I am a solid 97.3% certain that this is Strelitzia. Let's look at the facts. Listening to the conversation between her and Sora, we can start to piece together some things that take on a more obvious meaning with the information we have now compared to then.
You look like a person.
Oh.
How is it that you retain your appearance? Are you special?
I'm a little hazy on the details.
Because of the power of friendship, Sora. The power you've been relying on this entire time. Come on now, stop acting brand new.
So, whose heart are you?
No one's anymore. They took away my name. Everything about me.
No way! They couldn't have taken away your heart.
Only because it pines for another.
Now this can be interpreted one of two ways. This other that she's referring to could in fact be your character from Union Cross. As I've said before, up until she parted from the world, her biggest regret was never having the courage to talk to you. There's definitely a possibility looking at it in a literal sense of my heart pines for another. That being said, it's a little bit confusing, because Sora then goes on to be like someone's coming for you, and I'm not sure if Sora just misinterpreted it, thus changing the subject slightly because she's too sweet to correct him, or if I did. I'm leaning more towards the latter though, because of this next line which is pointed directly at someone we all know.
He's been changed beyond recognition. His heart replaced with another's. But were he to regain his old self again, he would be distressed by my absence.
Without a doubt, talking about her brother Laurium here, aka Marluxia. Listen to what she says. They've changed beyond recognition. Heart replaced with another's. Laurium is no longer his old self. Even looking back at his demeanor during Union Cross, it's completely shifted from what he is now. What once was of light, now belonging to darkness, changed beyond her recognition, as someone who only knew him when he was a Keyblade wielder of light. On top of that, his heart was replaced with a part of Xehanort's. I don't have to explain this one, do I? It's pretty clean cut.
So, who did this to you? Heartless steal hearts? So, a nobody?
Somebody.
Oh boy, Sora, you don't even know. Also, let's just take a moment to appreciate our baby boy. He immediately concerned for some random star even though he's on the brink of death himself. Bless.
Oh, hey! If I see him, I'll tell him that you're here. What's his name? Huh?
Our secret.
Look at how stunned he is to hear that name. Hell, even I was stunned once Union Cross revealed this man's true identity. It's someone he's had numerous encounters with. Piece it together. Someone changed beyond recognition. Their heart replaced with another. And Sora's reaction, meaning that it's obviously somebody that he knows. Considering we've quite literally been following Sora's story since the man decided to sail a raft into space, it would have to be one of these many characters that we've all known. And that character being Marluxia. Another cool little tidbit is when she says,
But were he to regain his old self again, he would be distressed by my absence.
keep in mind, this conversation takes place before the actual battles during the Keyblade War. Fast forward to when you defeat Marluxia and they have this interaction.
Oh, so now it all comes back to me. And now I am on the cusp of reclaiming my identity, my purpose for being. Thanks to you, Sora.
Glad that he's beginning to remember his purpose, his reason for being. Overall, a step towards remembering his sister. I was also curious as to the lack in feedback in Sora when Marluxia was disappearing. Like, really, Sora? I feel like out of everybody, the one you have quite a bit of history with would get you. But that's just it. He didn't say much, not because he didn't want to, it's because he can't.
Our secret.
Now by this point, if you're not convinced that she is talking about Marluxia, thus in turn confirming that this star is in fact Strelitzia, then I guess I failed. You win. Congratulations. Want a cookie? Well, you don't get one quite yet, because now that I've established everything that needs to be established, we now need to talk about just how it is that Strelitzia may return. Now, how would Strelitzia be able to return? Honestly, I can't give you a definitive answer on that. None of us can. Nomura could come up with a completely new system pertaining to the world of fiction that we would have no idea about because we've never been there. However, it wouldn't be quite fair if I drug you along this far only to tease you at the very end. So for the sake of those feeding, allow me to extend an olive branch. It would be as simple and honestly quite obvious as the replica program. Well, simple in Kingdom Hearts terms. Remember earlier in the video where I stated that if any of these characters were to come back, Strelitzia should be able to as well? That wasn't just me venting my emotional trauma in an attempt to cope with the tragic hand she had been dealt, but I also meant that in quite the literal sense as well, specifically looking at Naminé. Come with me as we take yet another trip back to the final world. I swear this place is getting so much screen time it's becoming as much of a staple world as Destiny Islands by this point. It is here that Sora encounters the familiar voice of Naminé. Obviously both of them were shook to see the other there, but when it comes to Naminé's reason, she states she was residing with Kairi until Xehanort struck her down, at which point she ended up here. And based on what we know about the final world, it is safe to assume that this is Naminé's heart. In Kingdom Hearts, whether it be in dreams, in the final world, with someone, or it being data, your heart still exists. There isn't a being in the universe as of right now that has the power to completely wipe a heart from existence. Not a heartless, not a nobody, not a somebody. As of right now, we are entering into a new realm that we know nothing about, and like always, the Master of Masters is a wild card. Add Nomura to the mix and good luck. Now, what's keeping Naminé from fading is up to you. It could be Roxas, it could be Sora's need to thank her, explaining why she was able to show in Sora's dive to the heart because of that strong tie. Regardless of the reason, the point being is that she is here, and she came back, showing that it is possible for hearts that are in the final world to return through the replica program. So why can't the same thing happen to Strelitzia? The only problem though being that unlike Naminé, who had Kairi, Strelitzia doesn't have a strong enough connection for Sora and the gang to bring her back. At least Sora in the gang. The key to bringing Strelitzia back will be Lauriam. Well, if Lauriam comes back, that is. To that end, Sora told Larxene when she was fading that she was going to be recompleted, presumably going back to Elrena, as well as a pretty damning evidence of Luxor being beaten, but still returning to Yuzora. So I think it's pretty safe to say the return of Lauriam, not Marluxia, Lauriam, is pretty high, as well as Elrena and the rest of the Dandelions. Now that being said, as I said before, I'm kinda shooting for the stars here, because even if the replica program was the way, what exactly does Fairy Godmother mean by this form? I mean, it could be the replica program, but it seems like she needs to be in another form to even begin being brought back. Plus, there's a whole thing with the Kirthi seeing someone who looked like Strelitzia in a white robe. Is this the form? You see what I'm talking about? Which is why I'm passing the discussion off to you. I laid the groundwork, but now we must build upon the foundation together, because we're friends. Right? Also, I know in a previous video I stated Ephremir melded hearts with Sora, and it's pretty much confirmed our player character melded with Xehanort, but I can't help but feel sad that it wasn't Sora. Think about it, how poetic would that be? All this time, desperately wanting to talk to you and make friends with you, you both meet your tragic end, and after an eternity, you finally become friends? If you think about it, if that was the case, then we wouldn't even need Lauriam to come back. We could have a huge emotional moment when Strelitzia comes back between her and you finally becoming friends, just like when Ventus finally was able to meet Sora. What's that? You said you don't care. Alright, witty banter over. And that's gonna do it for this video. If you enjoyed it, like always, go ahead and leave a like. Don't be shy. And if you love outlandish, stretching the limits of all things Kingdom Hearts theories, go ahead and check out this one about the Master of Masters end goal. And if you enjoy that, then you might as well subscribe, because I've got an even crazier one coming up. Okay, I'll give you a little bit of a hint. As always, it's been Vel, I love your faces, and I'm out. Peace.